What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. It's going to be jam-packed with Casper Network ACTUS, which is the standard that accounts for 98% of all financial contracts, a $50 trillion market opportunity. And we'll go through all of that in a minute, but first I wanted to start with this. So we know with the recent approval of the Bitcoin Spot ETF, the Bitcoin price chart retraced up to 49,000 at the 618 retracement and has pulled back thus far under 40K. What's interesting is looking at other markets and comparing to previous cycles. We have the Dow Jones at an all-time high price, the S&P 500 now at an all-time high price, and then gold also hit an all-time high price a couple months back. And historically, when we see the Dow, the S&P 500, and gold create new all-time highs, the Bitcoin price chart has typically created all-time highs. Will this time be different considering geopolitics, the current monetary policy, and debt soaring? So we have the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, gold, and the Bitcoin price chart all in the 3-week time frame. Last cycle we saw gold push into an all-time high price, and during this crash or this retracement right here, this is when Bitcoin took off. And these three charts that have created all-time high prices look like a blow-off top setup. And the question I have is how much higher are these going to go before we get a major crash? And when will the Bitcoin price chart see an all-time high price? We've seen historically assets like XRP have only gone on a major rally when Bitcoin is pushing into a new all-time high price. And every time we've seen XRP at an all-time high price, this is only after Bitcoin is pushed into all-time highs. What's interesting is last cycle, at the end of 2020, when Bitcoin created an all-time high price, there were some alts in the market, not the majority, but some actually created all-time highs before Bitcoin, serving as a leading indicator. And over the past year, we have seen some assets rally very well, doing a 5 or 10x, but for the most part, the majority of the market is still at their lows in accumulation. Now, before we dive into today's video, if you really want to learn and get information straight from the horse's mouth from people in the industry, I encourage you to watch all of these videos uploaded on Casper Labs' YouTube channel of Davos. I don't know the exact stats or the attendance rate in Davos for this year, but for perspective, last year in 2023, over 120 billionaires attended, over 50 plus heads of state, and over 40 CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and hundreds of family offices. So once a year, this city Davos, or Davos, in Switzerland is one of the most important cities to attend. In this video, I'm going to share a must-see clip from the Day 3 panel, Changing the Plumbing for Digital Securities and Capital Markets. On stage, we have Ralph Kubli as the moderator of the Casper Association. We have Alan here, he is the chairman of ACTUS Foundation. We have Anna, the executive director in Global Securities Trading at UBS. We have Dan right here, the CTO, Securency, and the DTCC. The DTCC was the Fed before the Fed existed. And that was said by a gentleman of the DTCC that we've shared on YouTube many times. We have Lucas here over at BX Swiss discussing what they're doing in Switzerland for tokenization, leveraging digital assets and blockchain. So let's run through exactly what is ACTUS, this financial standard. Many are already familiar with ISO 20022, which is the global standard for financial messaging for modern payments. Improvements of messaging and having a single unified global standard for all these organizations to leverage improves efficiency. We have to have a unified standard for messaging to even settle payments, so this is not actual settlement, this is just messaging, but just as important. So ISO is just general financial messaging used by banks and financial institutions. While ACTUS, this algorithmic contract standard, is for tokenized asset messaging. So instead of financial messaging, this is asset messaging for tokenized assets, used by custodians, banks, and regulators. And both of these standards are used in derivatives, payments, and other financial products. What's interesting is ACTUS is one of the 3 largest data standards in the world alongside ISO and another one called FIX. And ACTUS governs essentially every single financial contract, covering more than 98% of all financial contracts. Now if we go to ISO20022.org and look at their members, as we scroll down, CFTC, DTCC, a bunch of banks, a variety of countries on the left, MasterCard, Mojaloop, Nacho, which is the backbone of the ACH system. We also have RippleNet right here, one of the first DLT-based groups joining the ISO 20022 standards governing body, or standards body. And people have said, why don't they say XRP? I don't see any digital assets in this group. This is a members list of organizations and networks like RippleNet. And going further down under the members list, we have ACTUS right here, and we have this group with ACTUS Ariadne. Ariadne is this business analytics firm right here in this joint venture with Casper Labs for Nucleus Finance. Going to this website, nucleusfinance.com, leveraging blockchain to revolutionize financial systems. As we scroll down, they explain all of this if you want to check this out. And the benefits of tokenization and pure automation leveraging smart contracts is massive. And the craziest thing about the trillions of dollars of financial contracts that are transacted every year is they can be represented algorithmically with ACTUS, leveraging 32 different smart contracts. That's it. So with just 32 smart contracts, you can represent every type of financial contract that's needed. That's extremely powerful. In the clip that I share in this video, they'll dive into that. And let me take a step back and explain. So financial contracts are just agreements between parties, and these can include various financial terms. The person or organization that's paying, the person or organization that's receiving, the amounts, the when, and the terms. And financial contracts include things like bonds, things like leases, things like mortgages, all types of derivatives, equity contracts, insurance contracts, and repurchase agreements, which is a $50 trillion market opportunity today. Now, regarding the ACTUS standard, I know both Ethereum and Cardano have done some work with the ACTUS standard. So please let me know if there are any other crypto projects or protocols working with ACTUS, but if you go to ACTUS Foundation's website, we can see Casper as a sponsor right there alongside Nucleus Finance. And as we scroll down on Nucleus Finance's website, so their partner or their layer 1 partner is Casper Network. And even on Casper Network's block explorer of their testnet or test network, we can see the contract Nucleus Finance that was created last month. Using Casper Network's latest NFT standard CEP78, so the metadata is dynamic and it can be updated, which is huge for compliance. As we scroll down, we can see some activity, so we see a bunch of different mints and setting the metadata. We can see 11 hours ago there was another test mint for Nucleus Finance. We can see right there setting the token metadata, and every single transaction will require Casper. And if you guys know any other projects or protocols building with ACTUS and actually working on tokenized asset messaging, please let me know. This is a multi-trillion dollar market opportunity. There is no guarantee of success, but the projects with the first mover advantage and a flexible, future-proof network stand a great chance to get a slice of this pie. ACTUS's website points out that they partnered with Nucleus Finance. Nucleus Finance is the joint venture of Casper Labs and Ariadne. And that's what these deployments or transactions are on Casper's testnet. In 2022, WM. Service got into tokenization as a service, partnering with Nucleus Finance, based on algorithmic smart financial contracts. So scrolling down, we have these groups, WM, Nucleus Finance, we have Casper Labs, and Ariadne. WM. Service isn't some mom and pop shop. This is the central data provider for the global financial market. It's not just a data provider, it is the central data provider for the global financial market, providing the financial industry with master data, identifiers, and market information. And shout out to Tokenizer, a must follow on Twitter. He makes awesome infographics. I just like this picture where he highlighted a lot of the deployments of Nucleus Finance on the testnet of Casper. And looking at Casper's testnet thus far, Nucleus Finance has done over 245 deployments. So some of these are actually deployments of the actual mint, and then others are just setting the token metadata. And with Casper Network, it's a hybrid setup, and the metadata can be upgradable if you set it that way. And they've built it highly secure with weighted keys and multi-sig. And Casper Network is one of the only layer 1s that has built-in native upgradability for smart contracts. And in theory, you could upgrade contracts on networks like Ethereum, but it is very, very costly and it takes tons of time. It is not efficient. It's not just a few clicks like it is for Casper. So this is a major use case and a very ambitious goal for any protocol, but there is going to be a winner in the future, and I hope that Casper is one of them and gets a slice of this pie, but there are no guarantees. And this type of technology is going to be part of the future. It's just a matter of time, getting insights into your financial cash flow. And with these in-depth analytics and financial insights into your cash flows, this would have prevented a variety of banks, organizations, even governments from the past financial crises. Now I'm going to play this clip from Davos of Alan, the chairman of the ACTUS Foundation. This is arguably the most important part of this entire video. This is going to be 6 to 7 minutes. Some people might find this boring, but this is the most important information in this video, and he says it much better than I could have said. And I'm sure some Casper holders have seen this gentleman speaking in videos before, and this guy has decades of experience. On stage at Davos alongside some very big names, including the DTCC.
What does that mean? What is really a loan, for example? What is a bond? It's nothing more than an agreement between two or more parties over an exchange of cash flow. If you want to borrow money from me, you tell me you want to borrow $1,000, I'll say, okay, here's $1,000, and we're going to sign a contract that defines the terms on which you're going to give me money back in the future. That's it. That is it in its most simple, straightforward way, and that's the way, in fact, the large proportion of all finance takes place. Simple exchange. The exchange of those payments in this loan, for example, with the gentleman sitting over there, gets expressed in a contract written by lawyers in natural language. And think about what I've just said. we agree to exchange some cash flows. Cash flows are expressed in numbers. That's it, numbers. And they write it up in natural language, which is the least precise way of defining something that really is inherently mathematical in nature. So that's number one. Number two, how do we go about expressing those agreements in a more efficient, more accurate, more clearly understood way? Well, if it's just numbers and the best way to express it is mathematically, then we should come up with a standard that transforms the representation of the obligations in a financial contract from natural language to mathematics, or to be more specific, algorithmically, for the way in which you are able to generate what the payments between the parties looks like. And this is really an interesting thing, because if you walk into a bank today, you could, or into a financial market or some other financial institution, you will find thousands and thousands and thousands of different financial products. Why are there so many financial products? Well, there's a lot of legal stuff associated with them. There's a lot of marketing stuff associated with them. And there's a lot of opacity associated with them. If you just look at what that pattern of cash flow exchange is, whether it's floating rate, fixed rate, you pay all the principal at maturity back, or you pay it out in little pieces, you know, like in a self-amortizing mortgage or car loan. If you just look at the way those cash flow patterns, or those promise payment patterns look, it turns out there's a relatively small number of algorithmically expressible patterns for what those contracts consist of. And what they do is they generate in a very precise way who pays what to whom, how much, and when. And it's as simple as that. And so what the ACTUS Financial Contract Standard, in fact, does is to create a standard that does that with the ability to bring greater transparency and assurance to financial transactions. And amazingly, as I said many times, you can represent almost everything out there in the market, despite the thousands of different financial products. If you want to represent the payment promises, the payment obligations, the cash flow exchanges, you can do that with less than 3 dozen algorithms. And so we have this circumstance where we've created this standard which codifies the logic of the agreement in an algorithm, and then has an accompanying data dictionary with the contract terms that interact with the algorithm that together generate the payment obligations. And those things can be used for every function in finance. They represent what kind of computation you need for transaction processing to decide each day who you're going to pay and who you expect to be paid by. It's the starting point for all forward-looking financial analytics. It's the starting point for pre-trade analysis, because every day, if you're a trader, you have to decide whether you're going to buy or sell. And the difference between whether you buy or sell is determined by what the market says the price is and what you think it's really worth. And so all of these things, forward business planning, asset liability management, liquidity management, it all comes down to the same starting point, which gets us exactly around to the point that Ralph made in the previous panel, which was how can you make the tokenization better and more effective? Well, the answer is tokenization, blockchain, whatever, they can replace existing legacy financial mechanisms for allocating funding between borrowers, savers and borrowers. However, it will only succeed if it does finance, which is the same whether you're doing it on blockchain or in a legacy institution or through an old community lending facility. The key here is blockchain, new technology, new ways of doing it, tokenization can do it if and only if It does the functionality of finance that exists in the financial world. And if it can do it far more efficiently than legacy institutions, in the same way that the investment bankers took away the core business of money center banks some decades ago.
Right. So anyways, to finish this part up, what he said is for financial contracts right now in a variety of countries, lawyers are manually typing up the terms. There is no single unified standard for actual mathematics. So this entire process is extremely slow. There is no automation or anything in between, and this is where the future is headed with Web3. Okay guys, we're going to finish up today's video with this clip. This is the CTO of Casper Labs, Metaparlikar, discussing blockchain and the reality of it today after multiple black swans and overcoming challenges and unlocking savings for enterprises during her panel.
Where are the savings? And it's been a grind really with enterprises because the regulatory environment isn't very favorable. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you have to try to convince them to adopt this very new technology, and it's hard to talk about the return on investment. Like, we know, those of us that are in Web3, we know how much blockchain can streamline compliance when you can trust some data.
So I think she hit the nail on the head. I've met Meta in person before. She's the real deal. But yeah, I mean, as a retail investor, I don't have any perspective into how difficult it really is. Okay, I think we're going to call it a day. I've been recording this for a really long time, ranting a lot. So I'm going to go through and trim this video because I was going through and just gathering links while I was recording. Be sure to stay tuned for the next one because we have a bunch of information to go over. Huge thank you to all that made it this far, and big thanks to anybody that likes and shares this, and I will catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below, and my link tree is linked in the top of this YouTube video description, with all links, crypto resources, and discounts. I'll catch you in the next one.